Morning, Miss Beverly.
Good morning, Amy.
There we
How
are
are
for tea
you?
time. I'm great. Great. It's been a good week. Yeah. So tea time with Amie and Bev on Wednesday, July 15th, 2020. We have been doing this for what? 2 months now? Since
Yeah, I
May?
think so. Yeah, since May. I think it was the beginning of May.
Nice. Pretty good.
Nice. Pretty good. Missed one time, I think. I think it was only one time.
Yeah, but I still showed up and it was all
Good.
good. So it's still been
Right.
we're still cruising.
That's right.
Awesome. What's happening? What's happening? Good stuff.
Good stuff. I've actually been enjoying the warm days, but the evenings have been
Oh,
cooler, so that's nice.
no kidding. So I hadn't really been giving much attention to the temperatures. And Sunday we went to a friend's to be in their pool and we
Nice.
got in the car and the car gauge said at 12:30 on Sunday was 112 here.
Yeah, I believe it. It was toasty.
Yeah, I was just beside myself. I was like, what? Apparently I've been in the house too much because
That's almost like a culture shock.
yeah, and I was thinking, well, if I think in the very beginning, I'm just gonna say this one little blurb about this, but at the beginning of this whole COVID-19 thing, that they said heat kills, and I'm like, then everybody should be outside right now. Everybody should be outside right now, as hot as it is.
That's right.
So anyway, I just thought that was funny.
Fun stuff. So what's been happening for you?
Well, I'm getting ready to launch a program online. So I've been in a program for let's see, since May. So right about the time we started this, I was in another program on doing online business, and so I'm about finished with that. I had actually intended to finish it yesterday, and we had a surprise trip to Phoenix, so we didn't get home till 10 o'clock last night, but it was
Oh,
all good.
surprise.
Yeah, it was like, okay, we're leaving, and we left at 1, got back at 10. So didn't get a whole lot done yesterday. So that's one of my goals today, get that completed, and that is a program that's going to help me have like sales pages and stuff like that. Um,
Gotcha.
so just been learning about marketing and verbiage and stuff, and so just expanding my knowledge in that area.
Nice. Good for you.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because that's one of the things, when you have an introverted background, promoting yourself is not a top of the list. And so it took me, I've even been in other sales programs to learn different techniques. I'm just like, this doesn't feel good to me, and um, it's just been a big block. And then over in this program, and I had heard it before, was like, think of marketing. So if you're in a business and you struggle with marketing yourself, and I'm just talking general public, that if you struggle promoting yourself, that first we have to truly believe in what we do. If you have a business and you truly believe in it and it just lights you up whenever you think about it, whenever you do it, then you are doing a disservice to the public by not promoting your services. And I'm a transformation coach, spiritual intuitive, spiritual guidance. I have all these skills and this information and knowledge, and for me to not promote myself to bring people in and work with them, I'm doing people a disservice because there may not be somebody else out there who is as compassionate as I am about what I do. So
Exactly.
the client's not going to receive that, and they may. There's other. I mean, I'm not the only one in this world doing this stuff, but they may get connected with somebody who is not as compassionate or understanding or can relate or can guide them. And so if that was a realization to me in, like, we talk about this stuff every week and I just get lit up. Like, we could talk for hours and we're limiting ourselves to 1 hour, and I could just talk about it for hours. And that is just part of my heart and soul to do this work. So for me to keep it to myself and not promote it, I'm not giving people an opportunity or a chance to work with me for the person that I am. So I had to really get that straight in my head. And so now and it's a practice, when you're stepping into that zone of talking about yourself, because a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. I mean, I listen to podcasts and stuff, and when they introduce their guest and they read their bios, even the guest who's been doing stuff for years, they're just like, oh my God, I can't even believe that was my bio. Or, oh my gosh, they're just beside themselves to think that they did all that. And sometimes I've noticed that sometimes they're kind of put off by their bio because they don't want that much recognition, right? So it's not just, huh?
I said it's a lot of pressure, like to perform too, like knowing that you did all those things and then the expectations of others.
Yeah. And so I noticed, like, people who've been doing it for years struggle with it. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, I got this. So it's a practice. So when, it's just like anything else, that once you start doing it and you do it over and over and over, it gets easier and easier. And so it's not about me selling me and my ego. It's me selling my services that I know is going to help other people. And that's why I'm doing this, is to help other people. So I can't do that if I keep my mouth shut about myself.
True.
Yeah.
It's true.
So there you go.
So that's awesome. Yeah.
So
That's
marketing,
awesome.
yeah. So marketing, we got to change the mindset. And 85% of anything we do, whether it's marketing, how you run your business, how you think about yourself, how you think about your wellness, your finances, anything, 85% of the work is mindset. The rest of it is the action.
Gotcha.
And so if you keep that in mind, like whatever beliefs and patterns, behaviors you have about something that you're struggling with, go straight to what you're thinking about and change those things, because without that change, there's no progress.
It's truth.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my mouthful. What do you got?
Actually been learning to, I recognize I've been reading and stuff, but I recognize we spend so much more time in our heads than we actually do focusing on our senses, taking everything in every situation. So that's like a practice. And I think that helps to open you up to everything else, spiritual, more patience and stuff, but like paying attention to all senses. Most of our sense we put onto is our brains, our thoughts, and then what are our thoughts thinking. I was reading something this morning and it said, never think a thing that you do not wish to realize as a fact in your life. So there's so many things that while I was raising my kids and stuff, worrying, so many things that I put as worry in my head. And it's like, those aren't things that I wouldn't want to ever bring to fruition. So it's like really thinking about what we're thinking about. Not just, I say random things, like I'll say, maybe something just as common as like, I just don't feel good today. And then you start noticing more and more throughout the day, you just don't feel good, but it's not because you're just not paying attention to your senses. You're just like, you got caught on to one thing. So for me, it's just, I'm trying to pay attention to my senses. If I'm not feeling good, okay, focusing on that area and seeing where I'm not feeling good. And then it's like me acknowledging it, it just goes away.
I've been listening to Sunny Dawn Johnston. She's a psychic medium. She's a thought provoker, a change maker, spiritual healer. You know, she's got a lot going on. And just listening to her, she was talking about, she's been interviewing people, and they've been talking about the body lately. And one of the things she said, I just heard it this morning, so it's fun that you're bringing this up, is that so when somebody goes to the doctor and they get a diagnosis, and so let's say I have a diagnosis of arthritis. We'll just go with that. So I have a diagnosis of arthritis, or I have a diagnosis of this thing called arthritis, right? It's to acknowledge that you received the diagnosis, but don't own it. And so we wouldn't say, I have arthritis. The doctor said, I have arthritis, right? Because when we own it, then we're acknowledging that and holding on to it like it's a part of us.
Yeah, now it's our experience.
Yeah, so whereas if you just say, I have this diagnosis, or I have this, my physical body is out of alignment and it has created this energy of arthritis, right? It's using words to not claim it as part of us. And so what I noticed, what I had been doing lately was, I'm tired. I'm so tired. I'm tired. I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep. And I have been repeating that. And even when I've been going to bed at night, it's like, oh, I just want to sleep so much, and I've been really having a hard time getting out of bed.
Gotcha. And that makes sense.
Yeah. And so here we go, back to the mindset. So I have to change change my perception, change my mindset about getting up. Like, I go to bed at night, I'm going to sleep well, be energized when I wake up. Right? What am I saying to myself? Yeah.
Exactly. Because we don't recognize it. We do it so often, we're not paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're wondering why we're still feeling that way. Lately, I've even been outside, like I'll go sit outside, especially in the mornings when it's cool, and I just enjoy the sky or the birds or the bugs that are flying around or whatever is happening. And it's like I feel so good, and I just keep asking, how can I feel better than this? How can it get better than this? Because I have no clue, because it feels so good. Like, what does that even look like?
Nice.
And I'm shown it more and more.
That's great.
It is. Not to say that I don't have my opposite directions, because especially for me, it's a practice being around family and stuff, because you just have such a history, so many triggers, and so many. We'll just go with triggers.
Expectations.
Yes.
Yep.
And then even reading into things, like one person might be saying something to me and asking me a question about a certain situation, and I might respond like almost like aggressively, almost attacking back, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, I'm freaking defending myself. That's what I'm talking about. For what? I don't know.
No, for what?
But it's just that past training.
Yeah. Yep. And we do. We so easily just revert right back to old behaviors.
Yes.
Because we practice that a lot longer than what we're practicing now.
It's true.
Yeah. So same thing with, like I said, just telling myself I want to sleep, I'm tired, and just saying that over and over and over. Well, it's just an old behavior I had.
Gotcha.
And just reverting right back to that, knowing that what I say to myself, my body's going to respond, and my point of attraction is open to that. Okay, whatever we want, we can attract it to us, and the more we declare it and claim it, the more it shows up. And so now it's the work of changing that. And we come back to just recognizing what I don't like, what I do like, where am I going to focus? Well, I want to focus on what I do like. And the work is to be focused.
Yeah. So even like lately, with it being hot, I've noticed, I was like, oh my God, it's so hot. Then it just seems like it's hotter. But then when I started noticing, I would start giving more appreciation to like, oh my gosh, it feels so nice out right now. It feels so cool. I'm appreciating the temperature right now. Even like in the 80s, I'm getting goosebumps because it's cooler. Right? So, woo, need a jacket. Yeah, but seriously, so, but appreciating that place, and it's like I'm feeling like I'm getting into that space a lot more than just, we spend so much time looking at the things we don't want. So I'm trying to, not trying to, I am actually focusing more on the things that I do like,
Yeah.
and to improve that by appreciating it.
Mm-hmm. I learned some stuff about numerology, and sometimes things don't move as fast as we want them to go, and so we get frustrated. Anyway, I do. I can't speak for everybody, but I know a lot of people feel that way. Like we want things to move faster and it's not moving as fast as we want, so we get frustrated or sad or depressed or whatever, right? And I was feeling that. I was like, man, I just feel I feel like I should be further along than I am, more successful than I am, more prosperous than I am. Of course, we gotta come back to the mindset. But I heard somebody talk about numerology recently, and figuring out your personal year. And my personal year is a 7, and a 7 is about reflection. So
Appropriate.
you're right. So it's to notice where we are, notice how we got here, notice where you want to go, set your focus, right? Set that sail, set your compass, get clear. It's all that stuff of being present and deciding what it is I do want. And so it's funny, we've been talking and talking about focus and for almost every episode, I believe.
Yeah, it comes up.
And yeah, and but I was in that frustration space of not being where I wanted to be with my life. And then when we ask the questions, the information can come. And so the information came through numerology to make me understand that this is a time to get clear, to get focused. So I spent some time doing that. And that's just writing it out, right? You take your career. What do you want in your career? What do you want in your relationships? What do you want in your finances? What do you want in your home environment, right? Just getting more clear about it.
Exactly. And even like you said before, which we've talked about before, writing all the things down on a piece of paper, the things that you don't want, but then on the opposite piece of paper, writing it how you would like it to be. And that's just a practice. That's a good practice just to kind of get you into the right mindset.
Mm-hmm. And
So
then
then
read it.
eventually we're not even going to be looking at the stuff we don't want anymore. We're just going to be looking at the stuff that we do want. We're going to tune ourselves into that.
Yep. And then you read it at least twice a day, once in the morning, once before you go to bed. And then several times a day. There's been some teachers who will say, make a copy of that list. That way you can have a copy in your car, in your purse, at work. That way you can just readily pull it out just to keep you focused. Because we do get caught off guard by life experiences, and can be so easy, like we just talked about, to revert back into our old behaviors, and forget the practice of being focused.
It's true. And it is a practice. The thing is, and you were saying, we want things so fast, we want it to happen all right now. But the thing is, most of the time we're not ready for it to happen right now. That's why it's not happening right now. Like it's kind of crazy. It's like you're depressed, but you expect to be happy. It's like there are two different things. You can't be depressed and be happy at the same time. It's a progression to happiness.
Right. And yeah, so there's different dynamics. Like we're not fully ready to receive it.
We think we are.
We think we are, and we expect it to come a certain way, but we're not.
Yep.
Or similar to my experience is we stop the flow. So things could be flowing. I could have been focused earlier in the year. Things are flowing, and then something happens, a life experience happens, and it takes my attention away from being focused. So then I'm focused in a different direction, and I start reverting back into old behaviors, mindset, and patterns, and I get drawn away from what I do desire and want. And so now I have to refocus and get that momentum going again. So yeah, it's just different dynamics, and it's just a learning process. So we can't, like, I'm not beating myself up. I do go, oh my gosh, I know all of this. I know all this information. I have all this knowledge. But still, somebody who has been practicing it for quite some time, still practicing.
Every day.
But I don't, sit and call myself names or an idiot or anything like that. It's just, okay, this is what you've been doing, Amy, and you need, you get to choose what you want, what you're going to manifest. And right now you're not doing a very good job at it. I mean, you're doing a good job of manifesting, but you're manifesting things you don't want, right?
Truth.
Whatever we're doing, we're a good manifester at.
Oh yeah. Real good. So, yeah. Sometimes not exactly how we wanted it to be, for sure.
Yeah,
we're creating all the time. So with our thoughts, so it's like really being aware of our thoughts.
Yep. Because we're amazing manifestors. We manifest everything we think about, everything we feel. We manifest. It comes to fruition, and then we get upset because something showed up that we don't like. But we point the finger outward. We blame somebody else instead of turning it inward and going, "Oh, I did this," and taking responsibility for it. That's hard.
Yes, it is. Especially sometimes if we're trying to look at it in a certain way. But if we recognize that really it was just our thoughts, like what did they used to always say? The Secret would always say, you created your illness, and it's like when you say that, it just sounds kind of harsh, but it's something that happened over time. You just kept yourself so far off from being in alignment that you created disease with your thoughts.
Absolutely. You're just out of alignment with your thoughts, your emotions, and then it manifests in the body. And I, a while back, and even today, like I just admitted it, like I will say, I created this. It's no longer a blame. You did this to me. I created this. I take responsibility. I created this. And in the beginning of saying that, in the earlier days, that was not an easy thing to do. So it is, everything that Bev and I talk about is a practice. You just practice over and over and over. Now it's easy for me to say, I created this, because that was my point of attraction. That's what I was thinking about. That's how I was feeling. And here you go, it manifested, and I did that.
And we really are learning all the time, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not.
Exactly.
Really, for me, yeah. I've been learning a lot of stuff, a lot.
And when the manifestation comes, you just want to cover your eyes and go, ah, la, 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 I didn't see it, I didn't see it.
It's true. That's funny.
Oh, goodness. Wow. What else is up?
Just going through a lot of transitions, from one relationship and stuff like that, learning from a lot of it. It's easier for me in a lot of aspects because I feel like I've been seeing this person as a friend for a long time. So transitioning from that space that I was in is actually been, for me, I guess, fairly easy. There's been some struggle with it, because I think that there's some things that I should be feeling, or I'll catch myself thinking about what other people might think, and then I realize I don't really care what other people think. It's like they're not even on my journey. They haven't had my experience. They have no clue. So just going through a lot of process, and that in itself is a lot of growth from one moment to the next.
Absolutely. Relationships do that.
They do, and it's good. And it's like, I've been away from the grandkids. I used to see them almost every single day, and it's like there's more of a distance between us, and it's not a bad thing at all. Really, I'm noticing that my grandson's more independent, so he's not so clingy with me all the time or have to be on my lap all the time, which is a good thing.
Hmm.
Because he's got to go on his journey, and I don't want him to always have to rely on me to be there for something. Is one of those days I might not be there, and then it's like when that happens, they're left in a freaking whirlwind trying to figure out, trying to grasp a hold of anything to stay afloat. And I don't want him to be that way. And I want him to be able to do it all by himself. And my granddaughter's pretty independent as it is. They still come to me and want to be held and stuff, but I'm just not there available every single day for hours at a time.
Hmm.
I'm there for a little bit of time, just long enough, and then I'm like, and then I'm like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you. Um, and that's, if you think about birds, I didn't know this till probably a few years ago, but a lot of birds will, mama bird will like kick their babies out of the nest to teach them to fly. And if you think, they're quite a ways up there.
They are.
But as humans, we try to control or coddle or fix
Yes.
everything. Mama bird's
Yes.
like, whoop, learn to fly, baby.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Love you. Hope you're making it. See if you don't hit the ground. But it's true. That's freaking awesome. I
and
like that
and
analogy.
and so that's how the babies learn to fly. Whereas uh, we as mamas, especially if we've had trauma or hardship in our lives, we don't want our children to have to experience that. And so we try to protect, quote unquote, protect and fix. And then they don't get the experience of
Yeah.
the contrast. And then they don't know how to handle it later in life.
Yeah. And then they get out there and I mean, I could tell you, I've had a family member that was in that same space. He got out there and he didn't know how to function. He didn't have those kind of tools. He didn't know what to do. Grandma was always, making sure that he didn't hurt. And, others were always making sure that he didn't hurt or want for things. And it's easy to do. And I was doing the same exact thing. I really sheltered my kids while they were growing up, because I was, after being sexually abused and stuff, I didn't want them to go through that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is you can't always protect them from all those things. Even when they go to a friend's house, you don't know what's going on while
Right.
they're sleeping or what's going on at the houses. So it's like, it's really, that stuff is out of it's out of our control. And it is their experience. It is their growth. It is their contrast. It's going to make them want to be better, want to do better. So
Yeah.
it's they got to have it. I mean, we're robbing them when we take that away from them. And I
And I
realize that.
Yeah, and I use the analogy of a toddler. So when toddlers start walking, right now they're trying to grab everything and touch everything, and if the stove is on, fire on the stove is on, and they go to touch your reach, and you smack their hand and you tell them no, hot, no, hot, no, hot, and you just keep doing that over and over. It's just like, what does that mean to them? They don't know what that means until someday when you're not paying attention and they touch something hot and they cry and you go hot, right? That's how we relate. You show, how do you identify an apple? You got to show somebody this is an apple.
True.
Apple, right? How did we learn in preschool or kindergarten? Pictures, apple, car, boat. We don't know until we see it or acknowledge it or feel it. And so until our kids actually move through something of uh, contrast, discord, hardship, trauma, even, You know, we don't want to see them go through that. We don't,
Mhm.
and we want them to feel good. It just breaks our heart to see our kids go through stuff like that.
Because we know
Um,
how it felt, so we associate.
yes, and we want to fix it so that they feel good. So when they feel good, we feel good. That's just being a fixer.
Yeah,
Um, and and but we deny them the experience and the lesson and the learning.
it's true. And then even using just the analogy of a fire or something being hot, we're taking them away. We're making them use their minds and disassociating from their senses. So
Got
same
it.
thing. So right, that goes all the way back to the beginning of the conversation because we're not teaching them to use their senses. We're teaching them to listen to what we're telling them to do, and we're teaching them no.
Yeah, that's a good point too. We're teaching them what we want them to do. That's a good
Exactly.
point. And they can't think for themselves.
Exactly. And then then I'm so far off myself, like even trusting my senses to sit outside and just feel the wind, to smell things, to really see things, to really listen, to hear things, to really, when you hear the music, to feel the music within you, to be around another person, I'm learning to not take on their energy, but to feel their energy. So there's a difference. And I just recognized that probably in the last 24 hours. It's really to feel their energy, not to take it on.
Hmm.
And then that can be so enjoyable. And if it doesn't feel good, don't feel it. It's pretty simple.
Pretty simple, isn't it? And it's funny
It
that
is.
things can be so simple
They
because
are.
we are so complicated.
Yes. It's because we were our hands smacked and we didn't get to touch the fire. That's why.
Yes.
That's why it's complicated.
And it's not that we're complicated, it's that we make things complicated.
Yeah. I mean, jumping off the roof when you were kids, you learn real quick. It's gonna hurt.
Yep, yep,
Not a
absolutely.
good idea.
And riding a bike, you learn to balance. How balance was important because if you don't balance correctly, you're gonna fall right over.
That's right. And if you're not looking where you're going, you're gonna pretty much eat shit. So
Exactly. Did that a few times, let me tell you.
yeah, me too. Yep. Overcorrect on something and you're over the front of the bike. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
happened.
And I remember, when you start learning how to do wheelies and popping that front wheel or uh, jumping over, even the littlest thing like a curb or something. It's like, I jumped over it, right? It's just this little 2-inch thing, but you're super excited. But then like you said, you eat shit and you get all scraped up and road rash and you're just so excited that you had this accomplishment and had this experience and you go in and then your mom sees the road rash but you're excited and then she's like, oh my god, what happened, and gets into that worry mode and that mothering mode and you're just like, oh my god, mama, right? And you're so excited about the experience and she's like, I don't want you to do that again. Doing what we want them to do and we deny them that
Exactly.
excitement and that learning. It's amazing how how we can learn something and sure, that road rash hurt. That stuff hurts. But the excitement of, I did this, I got through it.
An
I had this
accomplishment.
accomplishment. Yeah,
Yeah.
accomplishment. But
There's so much
then,
more value in that.
absolutely. But then mom sees it from a different perspective. I got to protect my child. They got hurt. I got to, take care of them. I need to make sure this doesn't happen again. They can't feel this pain. And it's like, no, no, no.
Let them feel it. Yep,
Yeah. Even the emotional pain.
it's true. And that's hard because I remember even when my girls were growing up, I would hate it when they would hurt because I just remember hurting so much when I was younger. So I didn't want them to feel that way. So I would try to make, lots of funnies and try to redirect and focus on something else, or which in some cases makes me feel like I didn't care or makes them feel like I didn't care. When I did, I was just using the only tools I knew how then.
Yeah.
When really they just need to feel it. Because then we're just teaching them that it's not all right to feel those things. And it's
Right.
all right to feel those things.
Because if they don't experience now in the safety of your care and they get out on their own as an adult and experience it, they're gonna be in a space of, what do I do with this, right? So this is, we'll return to addiction, alcohol, drugs, sex,
Suicide. Yeah.
suicide. Yeah. And because I know for the most part, I can't speak for the whole population, but for the most part, like our generation and before, we weren't taught how to healthily deal with emotion, negative emotion, particularly.
Yeah.
It was stuff it, stuff it, stuff it. And I feel very blessed in the sense that when I started reading at 28, reading the books or asking the questions of why we're here, I was reading the books and learning new information and knowledge that I didn't have because my mom didn't have it, and learning to love myself. That as I was practicing it for myself and as my son was getting older, I could coach him through that stuff instead of being the demanding parent, like what we've been talking about. And that's kind of the mindset I had. Like if I had to um, have, because no doubt, just let me put this side note, I jacked up my son in other ways, and just so don't think he's perfect. He's amazing. He's got great personality, very got a great spirit, but he's got his own issues that I created. So wasn't perfect in everything. So um, I, if I were to have a child, and I talk to parents about this, is it, as a child, it is our job to keep them safe, out of harm's way, endangerment, teach
Yes.
them to look both ways before crossing the street, right? We want to keep them safe in that. But to be a coach in their life instead of the demanding, overbearing, worrying, overprotective parent,
Yes.
but to coach them. However, you have to have the coaching skills, meaning you need to know how to deal with your emotions in a healthy way so you can teach them to deal with them in a healthy way.
It's
And
true.
that's where things are lacking, because if you don't have that information, then you can't teach us. No different than our parents. They didn't have
Yes.
that information to tell us, love yourself, let your spirit shine, be you, right? We didn't get that information. It was the
No.
love. Love was outside of ourselves. Love was in this relationship. Love was at this boy and that boy, this, right?
It's
And
true.
so the signals and the information that we got, um, it was healthy in our growth for sure. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here together having this conversation.
True.
But now we can bring forth information for people to say, hey, there is a healthy way to deal with your emotions. And the better you are at it for you, the more it's going to bleed over into your children. It's going to
It's true.
emanate. You're going to emanate. I shouldn't say, rephrase those words of bleed over. You're going to emanate that energy to your kids and to everybody else in your vicinity.
It's true. And then recognizing, like you said, stuffing our emotions. One thing I noticed for myself, stuffing emotions. I might have stuffed all the hurt and everything else, but I was also stuffing all the excitement, the joy, everything else. We don't get to pick and choose. It's like it all gets stifled. And then getting into situations like I would see other people how they would react to things, and it's like I couldn't react that way. I didn't know how to react that way. And it's
Yeah,
because I was blocking not only the bad stuff, I was obstructing myself from everything, or blocking myself off from
yeah.
everything.
Part of my programming was I couldn't get excited about anything, because if I did get excited, then it would be taken away. So I
And
didn't
I
know what
get that.
joy was. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
I even like birthday parties or receiving gifts. It would be oh, thank you.
Yeah.
No joy, no excitement, no like, oh my God, thank you. None of that. It was oh, thank you. It was very subtle and small, because if I got too excited, it's gonna get taken away from me.
Exactly. And then it even hurts more. So just don't get excited about it. So yeah, I totally understand that. Been
Yeah.
there. most of
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah. And
That's
then
true.
as I was an adult, and I have to say it was in my 30s that I had to um, learn to be joyful, learn what joy was and is, and how to feel it and be okay with feeling it.
I'm learning.
And, there are some days that it shows up more than others.
It's true. It's true.
That's my choice. That's my allowing. I take responsibility for that. It's what I'm focused on.
But I still like to win the lottery just so I can see what my reaction's going to be.
There you go.
Yeah. Or
There you
something.
go.
A new car or something.
Just to try it out.
Just like take it for a test drive, just to see how those feelings feel.
We'll go get you a Matchbox car and we'll celebrate it.
I can play with those all day.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing about having grandkids. You can go out and buy new toys that you want to play with.
Yep.
It's
Oh, it's
true.
for my grandson. Not really. It's for me.
That's right. Because they didn't
And
make that stuff when I was a kid.
exactly. I know. I see commercials. I'm like, we got to get that. We don't even have kids. We don't have grandkids. But we need to go
You can,
get that and play with it.
we can start planning ahead.
And I have
You
to
just
build
play with it and then put it back in the box.
and I have to build a shed to store all of it. So if one day, because my son does not sure if he wants to have children or not. He's like,
Gotcha.
so I might end up just stashing all these toys and then be Santa Claus or something for somebody.
That's true. Those
Don't
greatest
mind, don't
plans.
mind, don't mind the little scratches or anything. I just played with it for about a day.
It was enough. Yep, I get that.
Got my fill.
That's awesome.
How fun. It's as fun as we're gonna make it.
That's true. Or that we let it be.
Yeah. And I really like your practice of how good am I gonna let this get?
Yeah.
How,
You had said something, I think you had said something a long time ago about paying attention, like how people want to have like clairvoyance and all this other stuff, but it's like they don't even want to see what's in front of them. I think you had said that to me a long time ago. It's probably been like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and it really made a lot of sense to me because there was a lot of things I didn't want to see,
yeah.
a lot of things I didn't want to feel. So
Yeah.
it's been a process. It's taken time for sure. It doesn't have to take that long, but it took me that long.
Oh, it took me a long time for some things. That's why I enjoy teaching and coaching, because it's like I have this information and knowledge and it doesn't have to take you as long as it did me.
That's right.
That's why I'm here.
It's a choice.
And through the contrast of my childhood and early years, um, that's how I gained the knowledge and learned the information and implemented it. But I'm right there with you on practicing it, and
Yep.
it's going to be a practice till we transition.
Yep.
This is something I have to remind people uh, that once you step on this path of focusing on what you like, focusing on what you want, focusing on your manifestation, your attraction, healing, healing the emotion, healing the layers, they want, and I know this to be true for myself, and that's why I bring it up, that it is not going to be a 1 day or 1 weekend seminar that's going to do that for you. Once you get on that path, it is till you transition. It is a daily practice till you transition.
Yep.
And transitioning, meaning you have left your physical body and return back to spirit. It is not one teacher, one seminar, one book. is not a do all be all right now.
That's right.
And
And
so
then reminding to be easy on yourself. It's like this is a journey.
it
It's so
is.
easy to beat ourselves up. It's like a lot of some of us had training wheels on our bikes before we took off the training wheels. So it's like being all right with it, feeling things out, seeing how you're doing, and not beating yourself up. It's something new. Everything else was easy because we've been doing it forever. It's
And
just a
it
new step that we step into that seems to be like, oh, it's scary and I don't want to do that. But it's not. It's like you're just learning new tools to handle life in a different way or see it differently.
so taking the bicycle. So if you think about the years of your life up until that point where you are deciding to make some kind of a change, you've had the training wheels on.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where you picked up that book or you listened to that teacher, you did go to that, weekend seminar, and you're like, oh, okay, I think I got it. And you take the training wheels off, and then you're all wobbly. And you're like, no, 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 put them back on until I can get a handle on this change. And then you go through, you work on this change for a little while. And then, yeah, you can take the training wheels off, and you might still be a little out of balance because you're still trying to discern between what you don't like, which is your previous behaviors, habits, and patterns, and what you do like and what you want to focus on. And so you're still real wobbly. You're still because the past, what you know, is familiar. What you're moving into is unfamiliar. And so you're playing this leaning, right? Am I going to lean back to what I know, or am I going to lean into what I don't know? But I know what I don't know feels better,
Yes.
but it's not familiar to me because I've been in the pain for so long, right? So you're on this bicycle and you're taking the training wheels off, but you're still wobbly. And then the more you practice on your focus and what you desire and being in that joy and the emotional healing and redirect it, right? When you're learning all these new things, then you get better at your balance and you can move. But then there's a speed bump in the road
Yeah.
and you hit it because you were focused on something and you got knocked off that bike. When we get knocked off the bike, we fall down, we get the road rash, and we want to fall back into the familiar of who we used to be and blame.
Exactly.
So we're going to
Yeah.
blame that speed bump. Who put that speed bump in the road? Who did that? They didn't tell me the speed bump was here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, you weren't in the present moment to see that
That's
speed
right.
bump.
That's right.
So let's turn that finger and point to yourself to say, I did this. I wasn't in the present moment to see that speed bump. Had I been present, I would have seen it and I would have been easy of going over it or done a wheelie, right?
That's right. Or jumped it.
A jump, right? Come on now. We could have had fun with that speed bump, but instead we got all wrapped up in the negative emotion and our previous behaviors. So it's just think about a bicycle and the different analogies you could use with that in the basis of moving in which direction. Which direction do you want to focus on? Which direction do you want to have more of your attention? Is it the past? Is it the future? Or is it in the present?
Yes. It's pretty easy to figure out.
It is. But then life experiences happen and we
Yeah.
just we lose our focus or get balled up in our emotions, but it's still all learning. It's still all learning. It's still all a practice. And
Yeah.
like you said earlier, you have to be easy with yourself through this journey. Journey is key word here.
It's true. Oop, you're writing.
I am writing. Writing. Never used the I've never used the bicycle analogy before, so that's really good. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy because most of us have done that at some point in our lives.
There was There was one time I was on a road trip by myself and had the radio off. I was just being in my present moment, in my thoughts. And as I was driving, I started using travel, being in a vehicle, as an analogy. I mean, I wish I had a recorder because I could have written a book on this. It was amazing. And so you have control over your speed, how fast you go, how slow you go.
True.
You know, staying behind a vehicle, so staying behind somebody and following, or creating your own path. And there are exit points, right? So you can take an off ramp and you can go in a different direction. You get off on an off ramp because I was on the freeway. I was traveling. I could take this off ramp because I need fuel. I just need to re-energize, regroup, take a moment, take a breath, take a rest. I can pick an on ramp to get on and go. I can go up a hill and be in struggle, or coast down a hill of ease, right? I just had this huge, I did this for I don't know, I think it was probably a good 2 hours. I was just had all these dynamics about driving, how it related to life. And it was an incredible story that I was present with. It was so wonderful. And I think I'd have to go on a trip again by myself to have that come back to me. It was just, the information, it just flows to you so easily when you're in that space.
Yeah.
That's where I was, and it was amazing.
And you talked about momentum too. It's like, well, what momentum are you in? I mean, because we can be in different momentums for sure. Things we don't like, we can have that momentum going and it kind of like just kind of spirals downhill. Or we can be mindful and what our thoughts are and then feeding that energy and then speeding up that momentum. So like determining how fast you're going on your journey. Same thing. Like you said, we can go really fast, we can go really slow. But if you're going really fast, you better be paying attention to what momentum you've got going on. What kind of,
because that can be scary.
Going on. It can be.
Yeah. And momentum matters in a bicycle too, right? Because if you're going over, if your intention is to go on a jump and you're going to jump, you have to have momentum in order to do a jump.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you go too slow, you're going to nosedive, you're going to crash, you're going to get road rash, right?
Yeah, done that.
Yeah. Oh, me too. That's how you learn. You're like, oh, I need to go a little faster on a jump.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Because what happened, I can remember, your first jump, no matter how small or big it was an unknown. You'd never done it. So you didn't know the speed, even though your friends are like, oh, you got to go fast. What does that mean?
Yeah, how fast?
Yeah, you don't know how fast.
What if I'm going too fast?
So then you're like nervous about it, and you go and you're not going fast enough, and sure enough, that front wheel takes a nosedive and you crash. Whereas you learn from that. You're like, oh, okay. And now I understand speed. Like in order for me to jump, I have to really get that momentum going.
Yeah, that's true in life too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We get the momentum going, and we can just be in the river and coast with it, float with it, float with the momentum of the river. We can put the oars in the river and go faster, or we could try to turn our boat upstream and try to paddle against the current, which is exhausting.
Yeah.
So we do get to choose because wherever you put your attention, where your focus goes is where your energy flows. And so be very mindful. What are you focusing on? Because whatever you're focusing on, that is going to be amplified and it's going to get bigger.
Yep. Because you're creating with every thought.
Every thought. Every thought. And this is what, even sometimes I forget, like every thought is an affirmation. Every thought is a point of focus and creation, a point of manifestation and attraction. And being so aware of what is coming in and out of your head, in and out of your thoughts.
It's true.
Yeah. And we get to choose. That's the great thing about being human. We get to choose.
That's just like saying I get to choose to be happy or unhappy. It's that simple.
Mhm.
Sometimes lately I've been choosing to be unhappy.
And you notice it doesn't feel good, right? Doesn't feel good.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's just another lesson. This doesn't feel good to feel unhappy in a situation like this. Can I still have joy? Can I still experience joy even though I'm having this experience? Well, the answer is yes, because you can go outside in nature, embrace the sun, embrace the birds, embrace the breeze, embrace,
Yes.
the lizard, whatever it is, the flower, and experience joy, even though something is of discord is happening in your life. You can still be joyful.
Oh,
The
yeah.
option is I'm just going to sit and be miserable about everything because this is happening to me. And
Yeah.
then, but if you turn that around and say, this is happening for me, it's a whole different perspective.
True. I had to write that down.
Yeah, that's huge. This is happening for me, meaning I am going to, this touching the hot stove. I'm going to learn from this. I'm growing
Yes.
from this. This is new information and knowledge where I could help others who cross my path with similar experiences. This is happening for me. This is teaching me what I like, what I don't like.
It's true.
This is teaching me to be unhappy or happy. This is teaching me, feel sadness or joy. This is teaching me to be angry with this person or joyful because I'm smelling this flower. Everything is happening for us, and living with um, the um, the idea that everything happens for a reason. And some people, I didn't like hearing that at the beginning. I did not like hearing those words at the beginning. I was so mad about that statement until I got more into my healing process and learning to do the forgiveness process and release the past and without hanging on to all that negative emotion. Then I realized what that meant. Everything happens for a reason, because everything that is happening for us so that we can learn and grow.
Yes. And I agree with that too. And that was a struggle sometimes when things weren't going right, but it was, like you said, it was for my growth. So that's what mattered.
So if we ask,
Everything.
we sit and ask, how is this happening for me? That opens you up to have a different perspective about the situation. Now, you might be in the middle of the situation, not understand it, and that's okay. But at least ask the question, how is this happening for me? That way, as you move through it, you can be open to the learning process. What are you going to learn about yourself? What are you going to learn about the emotions you experience? What are you going to learn about other people's behavior through this? How just be open to be in a learning position instead of a victim position. Because when we say this is happening to me, we put ourselves in a victim position and defensive.
Yes.
Old habits, old behaviors, old patterns, instead of this happening for me. So open myself up to learning, be an observer as to what's happening around me, be present so I can see more of what's going on, be open more to our senses, like you said earlier, right? This is happening for me.
Just getting us more fine-tuned.
Oh man. Every day.
It's true.
Every single day. Absolutely. I think we're at top of our hour.
Nice.
Yeah. Always have great conversations, I feel. It's my opinion.
I think so too. They're
Always
beneficial
learn,
for me.
always learn from each other, and that's awesome. I love our conversations.
Me
Uh,
too.
this is Amie and Bev with Tea Time, posting on Thursdays, and excited that we're having these posts on Facebook and putting them on YouTube.
Yes.
Having the ability to get out and touch more lives with our conversations. You can post questions and comments. You can also email us. It's Amie, AMIE, and AND, Bev, BEV, @gmail.com. You can send us an email. We're also on Facebook at Amie and Bev is our business page. And then there's Amie and Bev Community, which is our private Facebook group. So you
Yes.
can reach out to us in any of those ways, and we will see you next week.
Right. Have a great week.
Yeah. And stay hydrated.
Absolutely.
Stay hydrated. It's a little toasty out, so
It is. It's nice.
it is nice. Awesome. Thank you. Have a great
Thanks.
week. I'll see you next
Thanks.
time.
You too. Bye.
Bye.